Hey everybody, my name is Coleman Hagar, and as far as what I know about ancient Israel, this topic is pretty new for me. I started attending ACU about a year ago, so a lot of this stuff is fresh and it's new information. But I did take Old Testament about two classes ago, and it did learn a lot. It was an awesome class, but one thing that I do know is the Israelites at this time, Israel was not a place yet. Um, but it was a people group, and this people group had a crazy journey throughout the Old Testament, and you learn about that when you read the Old Testament. But they had this insane journey um, where it was almost a back and forth battle with God, just kind of wrestling, disobeying commands that God gave them, and it ended up really affecting where they ended up and the timing of where they ended. It took 40 years for them to get to their quote unquote promised land. Um, so that's one thing I do know. I do know that um, within the Israelite culture, um, there was a lot of idolatry. There was a lot of violence, and it was kind of just a nasty culture to be growing up in. Um, and you see a lot of that through the Old Testament. You always there's always a story about the Israelites worshiping a golden calf or some another idol, um, or just disobeying God, um, and having multiple wives. You see a lot of. Um, I remember I had to write a paper about the book Habakkuk, the prophet Habakkuk, and just reading through Habakkuk and reading kind of the stories that the people of Israel were doing at the time, the blatant disrespect towards God. It made sense why it took 40 years for them to get into their land. Um, as far as historical information that I know, I don't know a ton. History was never my strong suit. If you put a timeline in front of me, I could probably piece together a couple of things. But if you need me to name dates off the bat, I just not going to be able to do that. But it is something I am excited to kind of grow in, especially in this New Testament class when it's a little bit more of a it's newer than the Old Testament. That's why it's called the New Testament, but it's in a more recent time period, um, and I'm really excited because this is my second Bible class, so I want to definitely put more of an emphasis on remembering those dates and remembering the time period. Watching through some of the materials for this week, the first one, it's the gentleman he's talking about kind of what history does for the New Testament, and he says it really brings it alive. And from the little history that I do know about the Old Testament, it definitely did bring a lot of things into context for me when reading the New Test or the Old Testament. Um, so I'm excited for this class because I want to put more of an emphasis on kind of learning the time period of which things are happening, so I can put more of a context to what I'm reading. Like the gentleman said, it kind of brings everything to life. Um, but off the top of my head, that's kind of a synopsis of what I do know about ancient Israel. I'm excited to learn more. And yeah.